I'm about to say a sentence that, no joke, in 10,000 million years, nobody would have ever predicted would have been uttered on television. The president of the United States is refusing to disavow conspiracy theorists who think he's been secretly tapped to uncover a cult of Satan-worshipping pedophiles, some of whom eat their victims, in a cabal that includes A-list celebrities, big-name Democrats, and the Pope. Here's why that is so extraordinary, beyond the bananas piece of it. This is not just a bunch of online crazy talk. It's dangerous in real life. The FBI has ID'd QAnon as a domestic terror threat. Our own team at NBC News has been at the forefront of reporting on this, and the danger element is partly why Facebook is now cracking down on hundreds of pages and groups and ads linked to this conspiracy theory that has infected social media. So here's the president in his own words at the briefing yesterday.
Well, I don't know much about the movement other than I understand they like me very much. I've heard these are people that love our country.
The crux of the theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind?
Well, I haven't heard that, but is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? I mean, if I can help save the world from problems, I'm willing to do it.
With me now are two journalists who have done some of the best reporting on QAnon's rise since the very start. NBC's Ben Collins and the New York Times' Charlie Warzel, an opinion writer at large. Thank you both for being with us. Ben, let me start with you. And I want to do just like a quick lightning round on this, because I know you'll be able to play with me on this one here. Describe your reaction. Describe QAnon, 5 words or less. Go.
Oh, man. Donald Trump is the Messiah, and he's taken down satanic cannibals throughout the world. That's not 5 words, but that's the best thing.
Your reaction. You're closing up. Your reaction to the president's comments then, Ben.
Honest to God, I thought that I thought almost precisely what he said was what he was going to say. This is an electoral game for him. There are millions of people who believe in this stuff. And we know that evidenced by some reporting from Brandy Zadrozny, my colleague at NBC News. There was an internal document at Facebook that showed millions of people in Facebook groups and growing on a daily basis, reading this stuff and really starting to believe it. This is not, it's so ludicrous to us and to rational thinkers. But people get drawn down bad paths because they are nervous about the economy or nervous about the pandemic. And, they have hours to spend on Facebook, and something that may appear irrational to them, a day before, they get radicalized very quickly because these bad guys in these groups are doing some pretty standard brain hacking techniques.
So, Charlie, it's not just that it's sort of this online thing, right? I've been reading a lot of your pieces, and you make the point, and I think it's an important one, that some of these supporters are linked to acts of violence, right? And there's a number of them. That standoff at the Hoover Dam in 2018, the 2020 arrest of somebody threatening to kill Joe Biden, who was arrested with knives, I believe. Talk a little bit about that and sort of why you are so concerned.
Well, I think, what we're seeing here is that there's like a superhero element to this conspiracy theory, and a lot of, high stakes, high drama. This is life and death for a lot of these people. And so when you become radicalized by this and these, the conversation becomes more and more dire and the fate of the world is at stake here. I mean, it pushes people to potentially do very dangerous things. I mean, I think we've seen extremist violence born online flood out into the real world increasingly throughout this presidency. It's been if you look at things like Christchurch, the Poway shooting, I mean, this radicalization has a real impact on the real world. And I think that violence needs to be something that we are constantly foregrounding when we're talking about this movement. I think it was the problem in the question to the president of the United States. It made it seem like he was some kind of hero instead of making him address that violence.
But here's part of the issue with some of this, Charlie and Ben, to both of you. Listen, the president, and we play this, he said, I don't know much about the movement. And then he went on to answer the question as posed to him in the briefing by a couple of people. But this has been in the news. This is not some, like, Ben, you and I were talking like a year and a half ago about QAnon, right? In the sort of the early days of it. This is not 2019, right? You have people running for political office, including Marjorie Taylor Greene just recently, who are openly supportive of these QAnon views. And that has been making a lot of headlines. And the president has already been asked about this in recent days. And so he is either not getting briefed on it, choosing not to get briefed on it, not listening to any briefings potentially if he is not aware of this, or his staffers just aren't doing it. Talk a little bit, Ben, about the idea that there is sort of in some corners of the conservative world, candidates, political candidates, a dozen, a handful of them, who are backing this and looking for the president's support on this.
I will say today there's been the first groundswell of Republicans saying, look, this is nuts. Like, that's their words, not mine. This is nuts. Like Ben Sass, senator, there are people who don't want to be a part of this because it's a really dangerous game to play. Once you start demonizing the other side as, not just disagreeing with them vehemently and, hating their ideology, but saying that they're, quite literally murderers and they're killing children, that's when it gets really dangerous. And that's why, of course, these people are taking it out in real life. When people are hijacking trains to crash them into boats, which is what happened because a guy thought at one point that there were children in these boats that needed saving. That's not politics anymore. That is extremism. That's when it becomes a domestic terror problem, which is what the FBI called it last year. So,
Right.
Really, people have to make a choice. Do you want to be a part of this movement, which is really dangerous and based on the very premise that political violence is necessary? Or do you want to, come back and say, like, actually, these people are our neighbors. Maybe we shouldn't go this far.
Charlie, very quickly, because I'm out of time, but do big tech companies like Facebook and others need to be doing more about this?
I mean, they're trying to clean up the mess now, but this is classic, right? This is the cat is way out of the bag. The train has left the station, and now people are trying to sweep it up. Yeah, they need to do more, but they don't want to be seen as making a lot of these editorial decisions, and that's a huge problem facing all of this for a long time.
Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. Why don't you subscribe? It's really easy. Just click on that button down there. And for more news from MSNBC, click on any of these videos here for the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more videos from MSNBC with our newsletters. Head over to msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up.